Good afternoon and welcome to the Virginia Board for People with Disabilities Statewide Continuing Education Workshop, Session 1 for this new fiscal year, July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. On behalf of our Executive Director, Terry Morgan, we welcome you and we are excited that all of you are going to be a part of this training this afternoon. We want to first share with you that this training is hosted by the training alumni, and that group, the training alumni, is comprised of graduates of both of our training programs at Virginia Board, Partners in Policymaking, affectionately called PIP, and the Youth Leadership Academy, affectionately called YLA. Tonight, certainly, we also have YLF because we changed the name to Academy, but originally the program was called the Youth Leadership Forum. So we welcome our PIP alumni and we welcome our Youth Leadership Forum and our Youth Leadership Academy alumni tonight. The mission of the training alumni is to provide advocacy trainings and continuing education workshops focused on the broader community in the Commonwealth of Virginia. It's taking too long for my slides to advance. So, always up front, because we run out of time at the end, we want to acknowledge that to put these statewide continuing education workshops on, we could not do it without the team. So we want to acknowledge, of course, our executive director who could not be with us here tonight, Terry Morgan, members of our administration team at Virginia Board, Henry Street and Tara Bethea. We want to acknowledge our communications and information manager, Miss Anita Ayers, and her assistant, Miss Brittany Hughes. We also acknowledge tonight our closed captioner from Virginia Relay, Miss Monica Mendez. We work very closely with DARS, and they handle all of our procurement, and so we never leave them out because it's a lot of procurement work that goes into delivering these types of sessions and events. We also would like to acknowledge our partnership with Mosaic Interpreting Team, and tonight we have two of their finest and experienced expert ASL interpreters, Mr. Tristan Brown and Miss Felicia Smith. In just a few moments, you are going to meet our Director of Planning, Research, and Evaluation, Ms. Nia Harrison, who handles all of the evaluations for our unit training and alumni development program. And then, of course, we want to acknowledge Ms. Christine Jeremiah, who is our coordinator for the alumni development program, and of course, works with training. I am Penny Sweetenberg Lee, and I serve as the director of the Training and Alumni Development Programs team. We would also like to recognize Boitnot Visual Communications. They are our vendor that we partner with, and they handle all of our communications for Virginia Board, all of our technology for Virginia Board. And so tonight, working with us is Michael Boitnot. At this time, I'd like to turn this segment over to our Director of Planning, Research, and Evaluations, Nia Harrison.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nia Harrison, and I know you're all really excited to hear from the presenter today, so I will try to keep this short and sweet. I'm about to launch one of two polls that you'll see today. This poll is just trying to get a sense of who's here today. This information will help our presenter. It will also help our funders so that we can make sure we keep getting funding to hold future events. So really appreciate your input here. You don't have to answer these questions, but we really appreciate it if you do. And all of your answers here are anonymous, so please feel free to be honest. It will not be linked to your name or anything about your registration for today's event. So I'll give you a moment to answer this. And if you do have trouble accessing this poll, I know sometimes they're not very accessible to e-readers. Please drop us a note in the chat box. I'll try to monitor the chat to make sure I don't miss anything. And I can send you an alternative option or other options that you may need. Also, feel free to email me if you prefer at any time, and I can send you an alternative option as well. We have a SurveyMonkey available. Looks like we've got some responses coming in, but I'll give it a little bit more time. I think the last thing I'll say while you all are getting these responses in is that we do have a second poll that you'll see at the end of the event. So if you're able to stay on until the end, we really appreciate it. It will be short and sweet as well. That one will be only 4 questions and shorter questions than these, but those will be asking you about the content for today's event. So we really appreciate that feedback as well. Looks like we've got
You have until 6:10, so you got about 4 more minutes.
okay.
Good, we're good.
I think we're just waiting on 5 or so folks. We'll give it another 30 seconds or so if you all don't mind giving folks time to read it. I know some of these questions can be long with all the responses, so we'll give you a little bit more time to get that in. All right, I don't see any more coming in at this time, so I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. And thank you again for your input, and please again stay on till the end if you're able to. Thanks.
Thank you, Nia. So very quickly, I just want to highlight our agenda remaining in this session. Yep, I think I needed to open it because it is taking a long time. So the remainder of the agenda will be, I will introduce momentarily our presenter for tonight. We are asking all of you to please put any questions you may have in the chat. And certainly the presenter may provide opportunity for you to unmute yourself as well. But that will be handled as she's facilitating and presenting. There will be an official question and answer time frame that will coincide with the presenter's presentation immediately following, and our coordinator for training and alumni development programs, Christine Jeremiah, will handle the question and answer segment. So if you drop your questions in the chat, she will be identifying them and sharing them with our presenter. And then, as Nia said, she'll come back to complete the second feedback poll, and then we'll have a closing statement from me and promote some up and coming sessions that we think you'll be interested in. So let me take this opportunity to introduce our speaker, Ms. Catherine McLaughlin from Elevate Us Training. She is the founder and CEO of Elevate Us Training. She holds a Master of Education degree, and she's going to tell us later what AASEC stands for, but ASEC, Certified Sexuality Educator. She is, again, the founder and CEO, and she serves as the lead trainer for Elevate Us Training. She is considered and highly esteemed and recognized as a national expert on sexuality and intellectual and developmental disability. She trains professionals and parents, as well as individuals, to become sexual self-advocates and peer sexuality educators. She is the author of the Sexuality Education for People with Developmental Disabilities curriculum. She has developed 2 online courses, Developmental Disability and Sexuality 101 for professionals, Talking to Your Kids, developmental disabilities and sexuality for parents, and a 3-day certificate training, becoming a sexuality educator and trainer. A training that I am proud to say that I earned a certificate in some 8 years ago under Catherine McLaughlin. So she is dynamic. We are excited about her being with us. She has spent the last 25 plus years of her career committed to elevating the status of all people, which is why the name of her growing company is Elevate-Us Training. I present to you our expert trainer for this evening, Ms. Catherine McLaughlin, founder and CEO of Elevate-Us Training.
Great. Thank you, Penny. It's so good to see you. And for those of you who are here tonight, welcome, whether I saw the poll and your answers, whether you have a disability or not, or you're a family member, whoever you are, welcome. I'm excited to spend the next hour and a half or so talking with you. Let me share my screen and tell you more about what we're going to do. So we're going to talk about moving from a friend to a partner in the age of technology. So talking about how do we meet people if we're interested in a sexual romantic relationship? How do we meet them in person, but also online? And what are some of the things we need to think about when we're online as well? So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And the goals are to explore how to move from a friend to a partner in a helpful, healthy, and safe way, and also how to support others in meeting partners. So if you're in a supportive role to somebody with a disability, how can you support them in meeting other people? We're also going to look at talk about some of the technology and some of the positives and negatives around technology, and then also discuss ways to have positive, safe relationships, either online or in person. Whenever I do a workshop, I always have something called group agreements. And so I'm going to just give these to you, and hopefully you can give me some thumbs up that these will work for you. But with this topic of sexuality, it can be sometimes an uncomfortable or maybe embarrassing topic. And so it's really helpful to have these group agreements so that people feel comfortable and safe to maybe ask a question or make a comment. So I think first we want to respect differences of opinion. There's many different opinions and values around sexuality, and all of those are okay. We don't have to convince anyone to change their values. Like, your values are yours, and everyone should respect everybody's values and opinions. The other group agreement I like to have is don't yuck my yum. And maybe you've heard that before, but it's kind of like if somebody brings up something and another person goes, ew, gross, or something like that, that can really hurt the other person. So don't yuck my yum. So we want to be sensitive that maybe something we don't like or we disagree with might be something that someone else is choosing. So we want to be respectful of people's yum. Confidentiality. So that means that we're not going to share anything that you tell us here or talk about. We are on Facebook Live, so that means that they can see the workshop going on, but not necessarily the chat. Do I have that right, Penny?
That they can see. I didn't understand your question. Could you re-ask it?
Yeah, if somebody were to write a question or something in the chat, would that be on Facebook Live or no?
No.
Okay.
They will not see it on Facebook
Okay.
Live.
Great. So things will be confidential. So if you put something in the chat or you bring up a topic, but the only thing is, I'm assuming that many people here are mandated reporters. So if you were to share something like you're being abused or you're abusing someone else, I'm assuming that people here would have to do something about that. So, but otherwise, we're going to keep it confidential. There's no such thing as a stupid question, so ask. Sometimes people might say to themselves, oh, that's so stupid, I shouldn't ask that. And I don't think any questions are stupid, and please ask. And also, it's okay to pass. I'm going to ask a couple of questions and have you write in the chat. But you don't have to participate. You can just sit and listen and see what other people are writing or hear what other people are writing, because I'll read them off as well. So those are just some group agreements so that people feel comfortable tonight talking about this topic. And I'm wondering if people can do maybe a thumbs up in the chat, or even a sure or yes or something to let me know that those sound good to you. Sound okay? Thumbs up. Great. Thank you, Alfred. Maybe a couple more and then I'll know we're good. Great, thank you. All right, so it looks like people are on board for those. So great. So when I talk about the term sexuality, and we're going to get more into the dating and finding a partner and all of that, but I think it's also important to know what the word sexuality means, because many times when I talk about talking with your kids about sexuality or learning about sexuality, people immediately think that all we'll talk about is sex, and there's so much more to it than that. So sexuality means more than intercourse or sex. It's about intimacy, connection, and belonging. So it's this feeling of being connected to other people, close to other people, a sense of belonging. That's an aspect of our sexuality. It's also about our relationships, and those might be friendships that we have, or a sexual relationship with a partner, or it could be family or coworkers or people you see in the grocery store. So we have different kinds of relationships in our life. And that's a big part of our sexuality, is having lots of relationships. It's also about how we feel about the gender that we were assigned. So when we were born, the medical provider said, you're a boy or you're a girl. And so that's a piece of our sexuality. What we were assigned, but then also how do we feel inside? What gender do we feel we are inside? As well as our sexual orientation or our attraction to other people. That's an aspect of our sexuality. So not only is it about how we feel about others, but it's also about how we feel about ourselves. Do we have high self-esteem? Do we have a positive body image? We feel good about our bodies. Do we have self-worth and confidence? So that's another aspect of our sexuality. And then there's also, for sexual romantic relationships, there's sexual expression and behavior too. And so it's a big part of who we are, our sexuality, and it's who we are, what we believe, what we feel, and how we respond. We are all sexual beings, but that doesn't mean that and everyone is having sex. It means that you have a sexuality, and everybody has a sexuality. And we're sexual beings from birth until death. So that's just a little definition on what do I mean when I say sexuality? And sometimes it's said sexuality and relationships is another way of putting it. But I'd love to hear from all of you in the chat for right now. Why is it important for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to learn about sexuality and relationships? So why do we have these workshops, and why do we learn about this? I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions about that. Why is it important to learn about this topic? And I'll give you a minute to put your responses in the chat. So the first one is safety. Yeah, to stay safe, figure out how to protect yourself from some of the negative things that can happen in our relationships. Yeah, so how to be safe. What else? Individuals with IDD are individuals first. Yeah, we're people, we're human, and that's part of being a human, is learning about sexuality. Personal safety, yeah, excellent. Be careful who you talk to. So some of the messages you might have heard around how to be careful. So that's an important thing to learn about. Um, to be confident in who they are. Yeah, feel good about yourself and be confident. Let's see, develop healthy, positive relationships, right? So that our relationships are positive and healthy and they make us feel good. Having special needs diagnosis does not mean that you cannot have relationships. And too often society is not receptive to that. Absolutely, yes. So whether someone has a disability or not, humans have a sexuality and they need to learn about it and have healthy, positive relationships. And like some people said, feel confident, but also be careful and know how to be safe in our relationships as well. And also how to behave in a particular situation. Yeah, there's a lot of rules out there and we may not know those rules. And so it's good to talk about that. So you're clear about how am I supposed to behave in a certain situation? What's okay in this situation? What isn't okay? So lots of really good topics to learn about. And also need to know the truth and not whatever's found on a Google search, right? So sometimes if we don't learn about sexuality from someone who knows about the topic, we might Google something and it may not be accurate information or it might be misinformation. So important to get our information from a credible source and someone that knows about this and factual information. I also have a couple of handouts on resources that you can use as a person with a disability or a family member, or professional, anyone, that you can use to learn about accurate information about sexuality. All right, thank you all for that. So I'm going to tell you about what some self-advocates have also said about why it's important. I asked a group of self-advocates in Vermont. I live in New Hampshire, so I'm up north. And I asked them, why do you want and need to learn about sexuality? And this is what they said. So we can learn to have healthy relationships. So we aren't lonely. So a lot of people with disabilities talk about feeling isolated and lonely, and they need this information to learn how to meet people and get out in the world and have relationships. So we can make informed choices. Not just make choices, but we need information so we can make choices that are right for us. So you can pick the right person, right? So you can learn about what are some good qualities in a partner. To help with the toughest part of a relationship, making it last. So self-advocates want to know how to stay in relationships and have a healthy relationship. So we can be safe, which is very similar to what a couple of you have written in the chat, so that people know their rights, so that we can be sexual self-advocates and not just self-advocates. And many of the self-advocates that I've worked with, they say that when they say, I want to get a job, or I'd like to live on my own, or I want to take a cooking class, people say, oh, great, let's figure out how you can do that. And is there a job you're thinking about? But when they bring up sexual relationships, like I want to learn about this topic, or I want to meet someone and start dating, or I'd like to have privacy in my room with a partner, people get uncomfortable and nervous and they go, And so self-advocates say the reaction that they get from others impacts their ability to really talk about this and learn about this and be a strong sexual self-advocate. We're going to talk a little more about what does sexual self-advocacy mean too. But here are a few quotes from some self-advocates in Illinois. I want to know more so I can decide what's right for me, my body, my choice. The second one, I didn't receive any information in school or from my provider. I learned from the school of hard knocks. I'm still trying to work through the trauma of learning the hard way. So important to know about information before you need it. And many people say that they often have to learn the hard way because they don't have the information, and that is traumatic, and they're still working through some of that trauma. Another comment in the chat, prior abuse or trauma may have their understanding or perceptions incorrect or as half-truths or rooted in another's views, beliefs, and limitations. Yeah, so if somebody has an experience of abuse or trauma, they might think that that's okay or not really understand what a healthy relationship is. So another reason to talk about relationships and what's healthy and unhealthy. Great. And then the last one from another self-advocate, we had classes at the group home in the past, but it's been a long while. I can't remember what I learned. So many people are saying, not only do I want to learn about this to make my own decisions and to avoid negative experiences or trauma, but also I need to talk about this more than once. It's not just a one-time thing. I want to keep talking about this as I go through life. So those are some statements from self-advocates. But another reason it's really important to talk about this is that many states in the country do not require that people with disabilities are part of sexuality education. Now, Virginia, woohoo, nice work, Virginia. You're one of the states that actually requires that schools talk about this with students with disabilities, that it's part of their IEP. So that's great. Other states, Illinois, Colorado, Washington, and California also have laws that say, I like that strong arm we got there in the chat. I love it. You should be proud, Virginia. So that students need to be included in sexuality education, or adults. So Illinois, it's adults with disabilities need to, anyone that provides services needs to provide sexuality education. So you can see there aren't a lot of states. Now, maybe some states are doing other things, but there are a lot of people with disabilities that don't have the information. And again, learn the hard way. And what I often say is knowledge is power, knowledge is protection. Ignorance is not bliss. And then lastly, there are lots of different statistics, and you may have heard different ones, and it can be hard to hear some of these statistics as well. But depending on the study, research shows people with disabilities are anywhere from 4 to 10 times more likely to experience sexual abuse in their lifetime compared to someone without a disability. In a recent National Public Radio show, it estimated that 72% of rapes are committed by someone a victim knows, but for women with disabilities, the percent is even higher. For victims of disabilities, their rapist is known to them 86% of the time. So sometimes learning about this is important because oftentimes people think that only strangers can hurt them. And really that's just not true. So we need to know that, you know, most people in our lives aren't going to hurt us, but it could be someone we know that ends up hurting us. All right, so I want to show you a video. And this was developed by the Office of People with Developmental Disabilities in New York State. And I worked on this project with them. And I'm just going to stop sharing for a second, so I'm sure that my the sound is on here. All right, all set. So I'm going to play this for you, but it's about sexuality and developmental disability.
Sexuality and people with developmental disabilities is part of an empowerment series for self-advocates.
Part of growing up is having new experiences in your life. They might be like a new job, school, or taking on more responsibilities at home. You may have new feelings and new relationships. Maybe you're thinking about who you are as a person and how you want to show the world who you are. Maybe you want to start dating, find a partner, to be in a romantic and/or sexual relationship, or learn more about your body and feel good about yourself.
This is about our sexuality.
Is sexuality part of your life?
Yes, it is. Sexuality is part of everyone's life. Everyone has a sexuality, even if they are not having sex. Having information about sexuality helps us understand ourselves and what we want in our relationships.
Many people with disabilities do not get education about sex and sexuality. This happens for many reasons. Sometimes others don't think people with disabilities are sexual people. But guess what? Everyone is a sexual person in their own way. We all need information because it helps us make choices. Let's change how we think about sexuality and people with disabilities.
Sexuality is part of life.
Whether you have a disability or not.
Everybody should
know what it feels like to have a partner, have a relationship, or just live a normal sexual life.
People with disabilities can be very sexual. I mean, we have needs just like anyone else has needs.
We have the same sexual orientation and the same gender as neurotypical undisabled people. Some of us are gay, some of us are lesbian, some of us are heterosexual, some of us are pansexual, bisexual, etc. But some of us are also trans or non-binary. We are like everybody else in this universe.
Everybody should have the information. I wish to have learned more about pleasing a person.
I wish somebody had told me straight up, your mom and dad might not be comfortable with things, but you can have the same life as anybody else. You can get married, you can have kids, you can do all those kinds of things despite your disability.
I wish that the school setting we were in taught us more about sexuality and just the normal, healthy relationships.
Sexuality and sexual feelings are normal. Some people have sexual feelings and some don't, and both are normal.
You have the right to ask for information. You can learn about sex and sexuality from classes, books, and people like a doctor, a nurse, a counselor, or a trusted friend.
Remember, it's okay to have questions about sex. It's okay to ask the people that support you for information. Being a sexual person is a part of being a human.
Sexuality and people with developmental disabilities is part of an empowerment series for self-advocates. Produced by the New York State Office for People with Developmental Disabilities and Elevatus Training in collaboration with the Self-Advocacy Association of New York State and the University of Minnesota's Institute on Community Integration.
So before we move on, if anyone wants to put their thoughts about the video in the chat, like what did you like about it? What did it feel like to watch that? And then we'll start talking more about what is sexual self-advocacy. So any thoughts about it before we move on? Thumbs up, thumbs down, somewhere in between. Great, you got a thumbs up. Excellent. That's a good sign. Yeah, on the resource list, these videos are listed as well, but it's looking like we're getting lots of thumbs up, which is great. So let's talk about what is sexual self-advocacy, and then an aspect of sexual self-advocacy is learning how to meet people and having partners. And so we're going to talk about that as well. So such great information. Yeah. And I think for a lot of people with disabilities, they really like seeing people with disabilities giving this information to them as well. So according to the mission statement of Green Mountain Self-Advocates, self-advocacy is about taking control of your own lives, making decisions, solving problems, and speaking up for yourself. So what do you think sexual self-advocacy is, if it means this definition, taking control of your life, making decisions, solving problems, speaking up? What does sexual self-advocacy mean then? And I'll wait for a couple of responses in the chat, and then I'm going to show you one more video with the self-advocates talking about what it means to them. So the same thing, but in regards to sexuality. Yeah. So taking control of your sexual life, making your own sexual decisions, solving your own sexual problems, speaking up for yourself around this. Yeah. Talking to others about your feelings and desires for connection and relationships. Yeah. So speaking up for your desires and your feelings and saying, I want to meet people. I want to do this. Yeah. Great. I think I got that. All right, let me just keep moving here so we can get to more of the content. But let me show you this, and it's another short video. And and it's part of that empowerment series, but it really just talks about what is sexual self-advocacy. And then we'll move into learning about dating.
Sexual self-advocacy is part of an empowerment series for self-advocates.
Have you heard the term self-advocate? Being a self-advocate means to speak up for what you want.
It means making your own decisions.
Asking for what you needed or wanted.
Being responsible for yourself and taking a big role in getting what you want in your own life.
Being a sexual self-advocate is about speaking up for what you want in your life, about how you dress, have relationships, and sexual experiences.
Sexual self-advocacy means to me to speak up about wanting the same things as other people that don't have a disability. We want to get married, we want to have kids, we're sexual beings. Just because we have a disability doesn't mean we don't think about it.
Being able to speak my mind and being able to say what I mean and mean what I say when it comes to sexuality.
Sexual self-advocacy means if I'm with a significant other, that I want my privacy.
You can advocate for your body and your choice. You could say yes, you can say no. If you're not comfortable in a situation that you don't want to get yourself into, you always have the right to say no.
Being a sexual self-advocate is asking for support with relationships and sex when you need it.
It's telling your parents, friends, and support providers what you want.
It also means you get to have some privacy and can decide to not tell people personal things.
It is important to talk to people who you want to have a relationship with.
If you have a partner, it is letting them know what you want and asking what they want.
Being a sexual self-advocate can help keep you safe and help you feel better about yourself.
It can help you have the relationships you want. It can feel very empowering and help you feel happy. My body, my choice.
As a sexual self-advocate,
My body is my own. When something doesn't feel right, then it isn't right.
good information helps people make choices. I have the right to information that is true and given to me in a way I understand. If we don't have good information, we can't make choices that are right for us.
I can speak up for what I want. If we're afraid to tell someone what we want, we may never live the life we want, or we could get hurt along the way.
It can be hard to be a sexual self-advocate, but it's worth it.
Remember, you get to decide what is okay and not okay with you. It's important to tell others what you want.
Sexual self.
All right, so similar to some of the things that you put around making your own choices, but also your body's your own, speaking up for what you want. And for a sexual self-advocate, part of it is saying what you want in your life. You know, I'd like to be in a relationship, or I'd like privacy, or whatever it might be. But then it's also speaking up in your relationships as well. So that's what sexual self-advocacy means. All right, I'm going to move us along, and we're going to start talking more about Okay, before we jump in, I do want to do a quick breakout room with all of you. So you can say hi to a few people. Maybe you know them from other workshops or other from the either PIP or Youth Leadership Academy or Forum. Say hello and introduce yourself, but talk about the messages that you received growing up about this topic of sexuality. What kind of messages did you get about it? So I think Christine is going to put you all into breakout rooms, and we'll give you about 5 minutes just to chat a little bit, say hello, and then we'll bring you back. You should get an invitation soon, and if you can join your breakout, and we'll give you 5 minutes to talk. Introduce yourself and what were the primary messages you received.
You see me?
Hello?
Can you see me?
I can't. Oh, there you all are. Now I see you.
Yeah, I'm
Great.
trying to get with the chat, but I can't get the chat with everybody because I couldn't see anybody. My
I
camera
know.
wasn't working.
Yeah. Do you see me? Do you see others now?
No, I don't see others now. I'm sorry.
Oh, all right. Well, welcome back, everyone. I'm curious, what are some of the messages you talked about? Like what sorts of messages did you get about the topic of sexuality? So if you can put those in the chat, or you could raise your hand and unmute, either one. What were some of the messages? Michael,
Good
do you
evening.
want
Yeah,
to unmute? Yeah.
sure. Not a problem. Yeah, our message was trying to discuss why we were there. Each of us kind of describing why we were there. Trying to make sure everybody understood the kind of how what's kind of got us vested in the conversation and the topic.
Great. And what kinds of messages did you all talk about? Did you get messages that were, oh, it's okay to talk about this, not okay? What kind of messages did you get?
Oh, I'm sorry, Catherine. So yeah, we're again talking about messages about how social situations, those things, and again, we were trying to get people included, so we kind of missed some folks, unfortunately. And I see Gabe said he missed us there. Sorry, Gabe. Yeah, we wanted to make sure everybody had a chance to talk. But we were just most important thing was the inclusiveness of why what kind of brought us together and why we thought this message was important to be heard, why we needed to hear the message.
Great. And it looks like Tammy, you have your hand up. Did you want to unmute?
Sure. I have some background noise, my kiddo, so I apologize. So I was telling the group that growing up, that topic of discussion was off limits. What I was taught and raised was that there's no dating until you're much older. There was no clear information on that. So when I became interested in dating and interested in exploring my options in relationships, that was something I withheld from my parents, which of course created situations that lacked safety and sense and sensibility when you're a teenager, obviously. But I learned pretty early on that wasn't a typical household situation necessarily, or a healthy one, I guess I should say. So I decided to participate in a clinic with Teen Options, with Planned Parenthood, called Teen Options. And I decided to learn how to become an advocate and teach kids about and teenagers about safe sex and sexuality.
Wonderful. So in a lot of ways, it was off limits to you, and you turned around and said, I don't want this for other people. I'd like to make sure people have the information.
100%.
Yeah, awesome. And then in the chat, it says, Mom explained the mechanics and said that it's an obligation. And then the person wrote, I don't think it's an obligation anymore as an adult. And then the message of sexuality is always increasing self-esteem, relieving stress, and emotional healing in your heart and in your life. Nice message. My mom talked to me and had me read books because no one talked to her. But outside of my mom, people in my family did not want to talk to me about anything. They still can't handle me dating. But my mom was like, go meet people. Nice. So at least somebody was giving you some supportive messages. It is an emerging issue in this country due to social and legal challenges, and it needs further and more detailed instruction and discussion. Yeah. So even the culture itself doesn't want people to talk about it. But like the video said, it's okay to have questions and ask about it, and talk about it. Great. All right. So let's talk about some of the topics that we were really going to focus on tonight. And a lot of these skills for meeting people could be meeting a friend, or it could be meeting someone that you're interested in a sexual romantic relationship with, or just a romantic relationship. So all these skills can be used with most relationships too. So there's really 3 steps to meeting somebody. The first is you're feeling interested in them, and we're really focused on dating relationships. So maybe they're your friend and you're starting to think, I like them a little more than friends. So that could be what's happening. Then the next thing we want to do is get to know the person a little bit more. And there's some different ways to do that. And then once people become a couple, there's some things that people want to talk about and communicate about so that they can stay in their relationship or have a positive relationship. Some people like to move fast through these 3 steps, and others take their time, and it's really different for everyone. But many relationships, as we build relationships, it does take time. It's usually not a quick thing to like, I need a friend tomorrow. It takes a while. Or I need a partner tomorrow. It takes a while to get to know them. They get to know you. Then you might do something together. So it's sort of a gradual process. All right. So let's talk, and I'm going to need your help with this as well. But I want to talk to you about if you're interested, or anyone is interested in someone in a sexual way, like in a sexual romantic way. What makes us feel attracted to people in that way? Okay, so if you think about what makes you what is it about the person when you think, oh, I like them more than friends? What is it about them? It could be about how they look. It could be about how they make you feel, or it could be their personality. So we're going to do an activity, all of us, to talk about the different, what attracts us to people in a sexual romantic way. So you can put your ideas in the chat. You can raise your hand and unmute either one. Okay, so I'm going to put these in this table here, I think. Yes, I am. All right, I'm just going to put these here so then we can talk about it. So body, face, and their energy. Okay, then I'm going to also add warm personality. What else? Personality, someone said personality, and how they treat me. Okay. All right, I didn't add any more personality because we've got a few of those. Okay, persona. And that might be kind of a personality. So I'm just going to put that up here with personality. What else? Interests. Okay, so their interest, and maybe they're the same as yours. Ooh, that's small. There we go. Okay, interests, sense of humor. Okay. All right, I'm gonna make this one bigger too. Okay, religion. All right. So their religion. Maybe you'd want them to have a religion or have the same one as yours. Okay, and intellect. All right. Let's see what else we have here. Their values. All right, I'll just put that under this one. All right, their voice. Okay, I'm going to put that up here with body. Their voice, their body, their facial expressions. Okay, lots of things. Yeah, we got face, voice. Okay, great. All right, so let's talk. So we got our list. How they treat others too, how they treat me and others. Wonderful. All right. Now we're going to do part 2. So if somebody's body or their face or energy, is that just for sexual romantic relationships, or do we want our friends to have a certain body or face or their energy? Is it just sexual romantic relationships, or is it both friendships and sexual romantic relationships? So what do you think? Okay, so Michael said both. Yeah, both. I think a lot of people are putting both. So let's put a big X here. So both. I'm just going to make that bigger so we can really see it. Okay. Okay, friends first. All right, so sometimes that's how people do it. They become friends first, so they kind of get to know them in that way, and then they might move into something else. Energy is important in a friendship. Yeah. Then we move on. Great. I think it differs for different people. Absolutely does. Yes. Energy for friends. So a lot of it is for both, right? We want our friends and our partners to have good energy. Maybe their bodies and their face, it doesn't matter quite as much. What about their voice? Do we want our friends to have a nice voice, or is that mostly just sexual romantic relationships? So a partner or both? What do you think? Okay, someone's putting both. Yeah, all right. So let me put that in there. All right. Now, what about how they treat, oh, no, I'm sorry. Oops, that's not right. I gotta move that one. How they, their personality or their persona, is that for just sexual romantic relationships, or is it for friendships too, their personality? Okay, both. There's a lot of both, huh? Okay. What about how they treat you and others? Is that, do we want our friends to treat people the same nicely as well as a sexual romantic relationship? Yeah, both. And one comment is friends, family, and God are the number one important thing. Okay, yeah, great. Right time and equal personality, both. Okay, so we're saying both, sort of personality and how they treat you and others is in both kinds of relationships. Okay, and interests. What about that? Is that just you want to have similar interests with just a partner or also friends? Both again. Yeah, a lot of these are both, aren't they? Huh. Interesting. What about sense of humor? Both or just for dating and sexual romantic relationships? Okay,
Catherine,
yeah.
Catherine, can I interrupt? This is Christine speaking.
Of
I
course.
believe Gabe wants to contribute to the conversation and he's raising his hand.
Okay, great. I didn't.
If he can unmute.
Absolutely. Gabe, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand up.
Hey, I'm right here.
Great. What did
Hey,
you
I have a question. I have a question to ask. When you, I had a hard time. I meet people from time to time, but when I meet people, I meet people sometimes that I don't know if they're, might not be in my age range or something. I'm like in my 40s, so I'm trying to find somebody closer in my age range to meet up with, and it's hard to find people that are single in my age range that would be, a good candidate.
Yeah, so you're thinking about like 40-year-olds, how do you meet somebody for a friendship or sexual?
It's hard to meet somebody for a friend or even to date if
Right.
you're in your 40s, because the older you get, the harder it is.
That's absolutely true. Yeah. So it's a great, but we're going to talk.
Sorry, I just want to have one good friend that I can, I have a lot of guy friends, but that one good female friend, my own age range, so we can just do things and be good friends and all. That'd be great.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I think there's so what you're asking is, how do I meet people when I'm 40 years old? So let me just hold that for a second, Gabe, and I'm just going to finish this slide and then we'll talk about some of those things, like how do we meet people? All right. So I'm just going to finish this up. What about religion? Is that important for just a partner or both? What do you all think? And then the last one is intellect. And I'm going to put values up with religion. Okay, only romantic, partner, both. So like people said, people have different ideas about that. So we're going to put it in both and partners. Yeah. All right. So both. Okay. Intellect only, partner. Okay. That's it. Okay. Yep. So someone said just partner. My friends don't have to have an intellect, is what one person is saying. Do other people want their friends to have be intellectual too, or have an intellect? So there may be some who want both. Both. Okay, yeah, so there's kind of a mix here. So what does this tell you about relationships when you look at this chart? What does it tell you? What do you see? And if someone wants to raise their hand and unmute, you could just say what you're thinking. What do you see here? What we look for in a partner often is what we wish for as a friend. Yeah, a lot of times they're the same. We want the same kind of qualities. People will always find something that you have in common. Yeah, so we can find that with friends or a partner, things we have in common with them. It's not just a sexual romantic relationship. So what a lot of people say is it's like friendship plus more. So it means that you want all the things in a friend, but then there's the feelings of sexual attraction or wanting more than friendship. So it's friendship plus more oftentimes in relationships. So let's go back to feeling interested. So during puberty, anybody remember puberty, when your body changed from a child to an adult? Right? What happens is many of us, not everyone, but many of us start to have sexual feelings. So we start to feel attracted to someone. So before we went through puberty, you might have thought somebody was like, ew, gross, I don't even want to talk to them or anything. And then you come back the next year and you're going through puberty and you can't stop looking at them or thinking about them, and you have your first crush, really. So if you had a crush on someone or you were attracted to someone, let's talk about reasons that you might not act on those feelings. Okay, so I'm missing a picture here. So someone already in a relationship, say you meet somebody and you're really attracted to them, you have sexual feelings for them, but they're already in a relationship. Do you think that would be okay to try to become their partner? What do you think? Is that okay to do? And this is just your opinion. There's no right or wrong answer. So if you had feelings for someone already in a relationship, would you try to get in a relationship with them? Try to meet them? No. Okay. So people are saying, no, I don't think it would be appropriate. It depends on if they're monogamous or not. So monogamous means they're only with one partner, but maybe if they're not monogamous, they could have two partners. So it kind of depends, is what the person in the chat wrote. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people feel differently about it. Kind of depends on that. Now, what if two people were of the same gender? Could they act on sexual feelings as well? I see, and somebody wrote about the last one. What's the point? They're already in a relationship. Yeah. So we got a no and a yes. So in every state in the country, people of the same gender can marry one another. So it is, and many people do have sexual feelings for someone of the same gender. Yep. And then what about someone that said that it's their life and their choice? Yeah. So what about someone that said that they're not interested in you? So you've asked them to do something, go out on a date, whatever it might be, and they said, I'm not interested. Should you still keep asking? No, exactly. Those are times when you might still be attracted to them, but they've said no. And so we have to move on. Now, usually what I recommend is you could ask for something else. Like if you said, do you want to go to the movies with me? And they said, no. You could say, well, do you want to have coffee tomorrow morning? Or do you want to go for a walk in the park tomorrow morning? And they say no a second time, then it's probably time to move on. But you don't want to keep asking people the same thing over and over again, because they start to feel like you're harassing them. So there's nothing wrong with you if someone says no to you, it's just not the right fit. All right, some other times, oh, there's the picture. What about a paid support person? If you were attracted to somebody that supports you, would that be a good person to try to be in a sexual romantic relationship with? Don't know if I have an answer yet. I'm not sure, but not really, no. Yeah, when people are paid to support you, most of the time they're not allowed to be in a sexual romantic relationship with. The person that pays them says, no, that's not okay. What about someone that's under the age of consent? Yeah, and then somebody wrote, no, not a improper relationship, and absolutely not. Yeah, so the age of consent, I'm not sure what it is in Virginia. I'm thinking it is, unless you're both the same age or like teens, yep. Yeah, so pretty much no. So if you're over the age of consent and you're sexual with someone that's under the age of consent, you could get in trouble for that. Right, so yeah, not a good idea. What about someone who does not say no, but does not say yes? They don't really say anything. Is that someone that you should keep asking? Oh, thank you. Thanks, Christine. 18 is the age of consent. So if you're 18 and over, you probably, chances are, if you are sexual with someone under 18, you could get in trouble for that. So you want people to be of age to be able to be in a sexual relationship. Yeah, so if someone says no or yes, we want to make sure that, then we want to think of that as a no, if they're not saying either. What we really want is a yes. A bit uncomfortable for a person who doesn't care. Is that around the yes or no, so they don't care? Yeah, that could be that they don't care, but I think it's really important for us to have people say yes to us and not pressure or force them to say yes. But if someone doesn't say yes, then it's a no. All right, so we're asking people out, we'll say, or we're interested. So now we're going to see, all right, how can I get to know them and let them know that I'm looking for more than a friend? So there's 4 things you can do. One is you can flirt. One is you can talk or text on the phone. You get somebody's number. You can ask them to join you in a group activity. So you can go with friends to a movie, or you can ask them to join you at a conference, whatever, where there's lots of people around, or you can ask them out on a date. So there's a comment in the chat. Maybe that's their way of saying no without making the person feel, yeah, right. So maybe if someone doesn't say anything, it's because they don't want to feel, they don't want to say no, so they feel a little uncomfortable. But if someone doesn't say anything, we have to just, that's a no. Yeah, but you're right. It could be that sometimes people feel bad saying no. Yeah. So let's talk about flirting. So what is flirting? And there's a comment that I've basically given up. What do you mean you've basically given up? When you write that, do you mean about dating or saying no? Or I'm not sure. You can add something else to that, Laura. Thank you. Or you can unmute too if you want to talk about it. So what is flirting? Has anyone ever heard of the word flirting, or has anyone ever flirted? Flirting is when you try to impress someone who's very interested in you. Okay, so yeah, it's being playful. You're sort of flirting with them. Now there's some different things you can do and say to flirt. So what you can say, I'm just going to show you some, let's just talk about it. There's things that you can say to flirt. You can say, you look really nice today, or I'm really glad you're here, or trying to get someone's attention or catch their eye, right? So that's what flirting is. You're kind of letting them know that you're interested in more than friends. And it's being playful. So you can say nice things to the person, but sometimes people don't understand that you're flirting. They might think you're just being, friendly with them. So sometimes people are very direct around this and say, I like you. I'd like to get to know you more, rather than trying to, wink at them or stand close to them or whatever. Sometimes people just are more direct and say, I like you and I'd like to spend more time with you. But what's important when we're flirting with someone is we have to make sure that it's working. And how you know it's working is they giggle, they say something nice back, maybe they lean a little bit closer to you as well. Some people are flirty by nature and don't mean it sexually. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it's confusing, right? Do they mean that this way or do they mean that? So sometimes being direct is a lot easier than flirting. Sometimes people are also outgoing and they're not directly for the purpose of flirting. Exactly. So sometimes it makes more sense to be more direct than to flirt, because you could be flirting because you're interested and they don't understand it as flirting. Or you could just be talking to them and they think you're flirting, right? So it can be it's a little hard to do. But if you are flirting, you want to make sure it's working. And that means that they're responding really well to it. They're smiling, they're giggling, right? And how you know it's not working is they look uncomfortable, or they run out of the room, or they tell you to stop, or right. So we have to pay attention to that. But again, like you all said, sometimes it's hard to know if someone's flirting or not, or you may not be flirting and people think you are. So sometimes people are nervous to flirt. And so you could practice with a mirror, you could practice with a friend to talk about flirting. So let's also just jump to the question that Gabe brought up around, well, how do you meet people to even flirt with, right? So what ideas do you all have for Gabe or anyone who's older? What are some ways that you can flirt? Flirt. How can you meet people when you're older? Because it's easier when you're around a lot of people your age, like in school, or but when you get older, there's less people. So what advice do you all have for Gabe on ways to meet people? I'm just going to give it a minute if you have any ideas.
Tammy's hand is up. Tammy's hand is raised.
Tim?
Tammy.
Tammy. Oh, yes, I see now. Yes, Tammy. See now. Yes, Tammy. Do you have some advice?
I think the thing that I find the most important for me is that I find somebody that has some similar interests that I do. So I think that the reason why is usually when you go do something that you really like or participate in something that you really enjoy, you're probably at one of your most comfortable levels in your mind, in your body. So my suggestion would be to attend something, go to something, be part of something that you really enjoy, and automatically the people there should have a similar interest than you. And I think that that's a good starting point most of the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great idea. You've already got the interest in common, and then you can see, oh, who do I find attractive here? Or, yeah, great advice. Volunteer. So there's some other ideas to volunteer. So you just meet more people and get to know more people. Go to social events, things that you're interested in. So similar to what Tammy was saying. There's often a community club for mental health and ID and DD folks to go through the day, play games, shoot pool, watch movies, socialize. So very specific disability events you could go to. Find hobbies or interests, so similar, making this neutral and getting out and or find transportation to and from an event. Yeah, so really putting yourself out there more is what I'm hearing. Church, grocery store, farmer's market, so places where there are people. And we're going to talk a little bit about online too. There are some people that use dating apps as well. So we can talk about that as a way to meet people. Yeah, and so sometimes, you can have other barriers too. It's not that you don't want to put yourself out there and meet people, but transportation is a barrier to getting to singles events, for example. So I don't like it here. Does your city offer Okay, yeah. So is there paratransit, or is there a way that you can get to these events, or someone that can get you there? Right, so it's not always easy to get ourselves out there. And I think that's why lots of people try online to meet people online too. We're going to talk about that because there's some really great things you can do online. And then there's just some places where we want to really be careful. Oh, so no paratransit on Sunday, which is when the singles event is. Right. And maybe it's talking to the singles event people about maybe a different day, you know, Sunday, sure, but how about a Thursday night too? I know that there's some communities that do like speed dating and that kind of thing too. And some of you may have seen Love on the Spectrum, and they did some speed dating in that show as well. But also I can also make sure you have a list of apps, dating apps, but we'll talk about those in a minute. But there's some that are just for people with disabilities, and then there's some that are for everyone. And it's really you have to decide which one you want to go with. But there's different kinds of apps too. Tammy.
I was wondering during this session, are you going to address situations in which, so I have a son with disabilities and he's interested in people that do not have them. So is that a topic that you're going to cover in this?
Yeah, well, I mean, not specifically, and that's a great question. So how do you support someone who has a disability but is interested in dating people without a disability?
Right.
Yep. And I think that's true for a lot of people with disabilities. Just because a person has a disability doesn't mean that they want to be in a relationship with someone with a disability. It's really sort of a personal choice. And I don't know if you saw Love on the Spectrum, but there was one of the men really didn't want to be in a relationship with someone with a disability. And then they ended up with someone with a disability. So I think it kind of depends too. Some apps you have to pay for. That's true. That's very true. I'm not that interested in guys with disabilities because it just compounds issues a lot. Exactly. Sure. It makes it complicated. So I think it's absolutely fine, if people don't want to date people with disabilities, or if you do, that's fine too. It's really a personal choice. So here's a list of ways to, the ARC, Special Olympics, Challenger Ball, are all over the state. So some events to meet people. I'm not DD or LD. Okay. So I'm just looking to see if there's anything. Yeah. Okay, great. There's going to, just so you know, there are some handouts, Melissa, before you go. So there's some resources and things that are available to you that go along with this workshop. But I just want to see if there's anything that you're adding here. Okay. Great. So sort of, yeah, just letting. Okay, great. All right. So for some reason, my slides won't move. So I'm just going to get out of this for a second. Doesn't make any sense. And just load it up again. Okay, so Gabe, hopefully you got some ideas, and maybe you can go somewhere and meet people, and you can ask someone for their phone number, right? You could say, I'd like to talk with you more. I'd like to text or talk with you on the phone. Would you be willing to give me your phone number? And if they say no, we have to accept that and say, okay, I understand, right? We don't want to yell at them or throw anything at them, even though we're hurt. That's the hard thing, is we can feel rejected and we can feel hurt. And then we try to make people say yes to us. So if someone says no, we just have to accept it. If they say yes, then we can talk with them on the phone, we can text with them. And there's just a few things to talk about around this. So when we're first getting to know someone, we want to talk about public topics. So public topics are things like the weather, the movie you went to last night, where you work, what's your job like? It's things you can tell anyone. Private things are more like about our bodies, about sexual things and sexual questions. Those are more private. Sometimes people say that there's some family stories that are private stories. It's just not something we tell everyone. But when we're first meeting people, we want to just talk about public things, right? So on the phone, texting or talking, we don't want to talk about private things because that's kind of going a little too fast and people can feel like, whoa. So we want to slowly get to know people by talking about public topics. So Howard, here are some examples. Howard, yeah.
It's Dr. Penny. I'm just wondering if Michael is here, if Michael can, from BBC, can pull up your PowerPoint for you and start on that slide you were on.
Oh, sorry. Were you not able to pull it back up?
I was, can you, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't have it shared. That's why I was able to pull it back up.
Okay.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I thought you were
I think
intending
we're
not to
good.
share, so I was confused.
Sorry. Yeah, so this is here's the slide here. So how's your day? What did you do fun? What did you do today that was fun? What did you do today that was boring, right? These are questions you can ask people to get to know them. What did you eat today that was yummy? Those kinds of things. What's your favorite music? What are some other things people can talk about that are respectful and public topics when you're first getting to know someone? Anybody have other ideas of topics that are okay to talk about? I don't know if people watch the Olympics this summer, but that's another one. Things that are on television. Important thing is how to avoid those nosy questions people ask about your disability without being rude. Okay, right. So that's the other thing. That's like a whole other thing. Some stranger comes up and asks you about your disability, right? Which again, it's a private thing. It's about your body. It's about your disability. You don't know this person. It can feel really uncomfortable. And I think it's absolutely fine to have a boundary. I use a wheelchair and this happens to me. People come up and ask me, what happened to you? And what I usually ask first is I say, why do you want to know? Because I want to understand why they're asking me. And I've had people say, my father just had an accident and he's using a chair. And then I'm like, oh, let's talk, right? But if it's just because I'm curious, I often say, I don't know you that well. That's a really personal question you're asking me. So I'm not going to answer it. I think it's okay to have those boundaries if that's important to you or not. But you got to talk about that. So topics, movies you watched, where you grew up, hobbies and interests. Yes. Movies, activities, family, what activities they enjoy. Do you have any pets? Yes, lots of great ideas. Television programs. What's your favorite childhood memory? Ask about pets. Yes. Right. So those, do you like EMIS? I don't know what that is. So you might have to explain it and then the person can answer it, right?
We have emus, so that was a personal bill.
What's that?
My family, we have emus, so that's a joke kind of a thing. But we
okay. Okay, great. Yeah. Do you like them? And they're like llamas, kind of, right?
big birds.
Big birds. Okay, yeah. Yep. Yeah, do you like them? We have them. We have 4 of them, right? So you can share parts of yourself, but these are all very public things. Great. So that's what we want to do. We also want to be careful not to call too much and not to text too much, right? So sometimes we're excited about this new person in our life. And so we want to start, we want to text all the time and, right? We can't wait to talk to them again. But we really want to just text someone and wait. Wait a day. If you don't hear from them, you could probably text one more time. Wait another day, but if you get 2 of those days, then you want to stop texting. You might have heard of the term ghosting, right? Maybe they're ghosting you, maybe they're really busy, but we want to give them that space to respond when they're ready. Sometimes you need to skirt and/or politely get around sensitive topics for you and establish boundaries early. Yes, right. Yeah. So if you meet someone and they're asking really personal things, you can set a boundary. So we don't want to bother or scare people. So once a day or once every other day, and then wait. And that's hard. If you're excited and you want them to call you and they're not calling you back, you can talk to a friend of yours or family about, I'm just so excited about this person, but you don't want to keep texting and calling. Also, how late or how early can you text or call is the other thing to think about. We don't want to call too late at night, too early in the morning. I usually say 9 at night, 9 in the morning, unless you've agreed that it's okay to text or call later or earlier. So you want to talk about it with people. So that's kind of a general rule, 9 o'clock in the morning and at night. Again, take it slow. Even if you're excited about this person, talk with your friends instead of calling and texting too much, right? Okay, then you could ask them to join you in a group activity. So that's the other thing. If you've seen Love on the Spectrum, there's so many, they're on a date and it's so uncomfortable and they're nervous. And so sometimes it's easier to invite someone to do something with you and a bunch of people, or go to a dance where there's lots of people around. So it's not just the two of you sitting at the table at the restaurant. So first doing something in a group, or like people said, a group that has a similar interest. You say, do you want to go to this dance tonight? Because you're both into dancing. So there's a group of people there. And so it doesn't feel as intense. So group activities. And then the last thing is you could ask somebody out on a date. And a lot of the self-advocates say, it's important to find out what the other people like to do so that you're inviting them to do something they like to do. But also to talk about paying for the date. If there's going to be, if you're going out to dinner or something like that, you want to talk about that ahead, because people have said they sort of assumed that because the person asked them out on a date, that they were going to pay. And that's not always the case. So sometimes talking about it up front, or make sure you bring your wallet in case they weren't planning to pay your part, so you want to make sure that you either talk about it or make sure you have money in case you need to pay. All right. Some people with disabilities are told that they can't date, right? And that's really about when you have to be a sexual self-advocate and say, I want to date. This is important to me. I have the right to date. So sometimes we have to advocate for our rights to be in relationships. All right, I want to get to some of the technology because we have about 10 more minutes or so to talk about this topic. So there's a lot of positive things about social media, technology, Facebook, Instagram, all those things, right? There's lots of positives. You can feel connected to other people. You can share pictures and things you're excited about with others. You can stay connected to your cousin who lives in California and you live in Virginia. There's lots of really positive things with technology and social media. But what are some of the negative things that can happen when you're online, either on a dating app or Facebook or something? What are some of the negative things that can happen? Anybody? Do you know of some of the negative things that can happen online? Yeah, people aren't always who they say they are. Exactly. Yes. Someone may misrepresent themselves. Right. So we don't know because we're online. It's easier when we're in person to know, okay, this is really that person. Yeah. Fake ads, websites will scam you. People being rude, people can mislead. Tammy, you have your hand up?
Yeah, sometimes online is a great option because you have access to a lot of people, but unfortunately, it leaves you subject to a lot of people who may not have the utmost of integrity. They may not be the most transparent about who they are or what they like or even what they truly want. They may present it like they're looking for something monogamous and faithful and long lasting, but in actuality, those are just words. And it's sometimes hard. Some people are very inept at being dishonest, and it's very hard to navigate and figure out exactly who's who. So it just leads me to have trust issues. So maybe I'm trusting people I shouldn't, and sometimes I don't trust people I should, just
Right.
because of how experiences have been. So it can complicate things.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And somebody also wrote, what you post can be disseminated beyond what you intended too. So you post something and they pass it on to someone else. Online, you can't see facial expressions or tone of voice. Yeah. So there's a lot of downsides. And like Tammy said, it's hard to know if you should trust someone or not as well. So let's just talk about some ways to stay safe when we're online. Yeah. So Justin saying my general disposition is negative on tech, not lives up to expectations. It can harm, does more harm than good, depending on the person and the case. Okay, yeah. So if you decide that you want to be online to meet people, and maybe Gabe, that's something you're interested in, we want to just be really careful because there are these scams that people mentioned. So don't give out any personal information about where you live when you're chatting with someone online. And personal information is your address, your social security number, your bank account information. Don't want to give that out online. Sometimes people online are not being truthful about who they are, which was already mentioned. You can ask for a Zoom call with the person. You can say, hey, I really like talking to you. Can we do a quick Zoom? And that way you can find, if they say, no, I don't have the time, you might ask again another time. It's a way to kind of see if they're trustworthy or not. You can also say, hey, I've got your phone number and you've got mine. Will you send me a picture of you and you've got your finger on your nose? So that shows that they're right in the moment and they send you the picture and it's the same picture they have on their Facebook, right? So that's some ways to sort of test that and make sure that they're really who they say they are. So if they're not willing to Zoom or take a picture, this can be a red flag. And, you know, red flags are like things we want to pay attention to, sort of like could possibly be dangerous, right? So it's a warning that something isn't quite right. Also, if you meet someone online, I usually say that they can't be your partner, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your sweetheart, until you meet them face to face. So people who use online dating apps, they find someone they like, the other person says, yeah, I'd like to meet you. They go to a public place to meet. They don't bring each other to each other's homes. They go to a public place and they meet each other. So there's other people around, so it's safer. You can also bring somebody with you if you want, and they can sit at a different table. But you really want to talk to people that you trust about this, because there's been some really negative things that have happened to people because they invited them over, they met them online and invited them to their house when they were alone. So you have to be careful. Sometimes it's safer to download an app like Text Now to get around giving out your real personal number. So yeah, there's another option too, like WhatsApp or something like that, right? So you can text without giving out your number. I don't know if that's true with WhatsApp, but yeah, so there are other ways to get around it. And then the last thing I want to tell you is it's really important to make a decision not to send money online or accept money online. So this may have happened to you or someone you know, but people will say, this is my boyfriend, or I'm your boyfriend. I want to come see you for your birthday. Will you send me money for the bus ticket? I don't have any money, but I really want to see you on your birthday. So can you send me the money? And people send the money because that's their boyfriend and they're going to help them out, right? And they end up never hearing from them again. So to me, we want to think about people online are just casual friends. They're not partners until you meet them and you decide you want to be partners. But you meet them face to face in a public place. So if someone says, well, please send me money, can I have your bank account information? You say, I never send money online or accept money online. Sorry. Do you still want to talk? Because you're setting a boundary. And if they push up against that boundary, it's another red flag. Or they don't want to talk to you anymore. there's a sign that they were really only interested in your money. It's hard. People go through a lot of pain because they're lonely and they want to meet people. And here's this person being really nice online. But I think if you can try to stick to that, to not send money online or accept money online, it protects you. There's other ways for people to get money or give you money here. But meeting people face to face is important so that you know that they're who they are, and that you really do like them and want to be in a relationship with them. So that's just some tips I have. Does anyone else have ideas about ways to stay safe when you're online and using like online apps and dating and things? Anybody have other ideas? It's hard, like Gabe brought up, being 40 and it's harder to meet people. And so when we meet someone online, we're excited and we want to make it work. And sometimes it does, but I've heard lots of stories where it doesn't. And people give a lot of money to people. And that's all they're interested in is your money. And people get scammed all the time, whether you have a disability or not. So you have to just be very cautious and careful.
Catherine, it's Dr. Penny. I did want to share that this crosses over whether you have a disability or not.
Absolutely.
I am aware of so many persons who have been scammed.
Yes.
Online, and because they give their personal information out, and because the person is crying, oh, I need this, I need that, can you help me, etc. And they give it. I have watched the video many times. I think that is called catfishing, when they are pretending that they are somebody or this person, but in actuality, they are not.
Yes.
And I can't tell you how many people I know that thought they were meeting someone legit, and it wasn't. And they sent hundreds of dollars to that person, and unbelievable.
Yeah. And like you said, it's not just people with disabilities, all of us. Scammers are really good and they know how to get you. Okay, so respect online rule. Okay, great. Yes. So it looks like we have a few more minutes, or we're going to open it up soon to questions. And I had a couple of role plays, and if we have time at the end, we can do those, but I want to make sure you can get your questions answered. So we talked about how to meet people, but also there were a couple of questions that came up before the workshop that I wanted to address. But if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we'll answer those. So the first question that was written before this workshop was, how do I get more time with my boyfriend when my parents have so many rules? So here we've got a couple that want to spend more time together, and the parents aren't letting them. So what can somebody do in that situation? So what I like to advise, and if you have any ideas too of what somebody could do, I like to say that you want to ask, like if you said to your parents, I want to have more time with my boyfriend in my room or in the living room watching TV, like we never get to see each other and I'd really like to have more time. And they say, no, you're only allowed to see him once a week, and you can only sit in the kitchen with all of us, or I don't know what the rules are. You could ask them to, like, you could say, well, what worries you about me having more time with my boyfriend? Because you want to find out why they're not letting you. And it's probably because they're worried about something. And so if you find out what they're worried about, then you can try to reassure them. Like, oh, that makes sense, you'd be worried, but I'm really clear that I only want to hold hands with my partner. Like maybe they're worried something will happen. And so you can try to reassure them when you find out why they have those rules. And that's hard because parents are trying to protect you and they don't want you to feel hurt or sad or anything. And so they may have rules, lots of parents have rules. It's not uncommon. So that would be my advice, is to find out what worries them about you spending too much time with your boyfriend, and how are there ways you could reassure them that that won't happen, whatever it is. Anybody else have ideas around this one? Any advice you would give around talking to your own parents? And then I also want to make sure we have time for questions too. So anybody have any questions about dating and anything around this topic?
I would ask Catherine, I'm just very curious. I know I see at least one of our alumni leaders who is heavily engaged in a relationship, but I'm wondering if there are participants who may have an example of a successful experience, or tell us what did they do to meet a significant other.
Great, yes. Yeah, any little bit of wisdom you have around meeting people and forming a relationship. And even what makes your relationship healthy and positive too. So what makes your relationship successful, and how did you get there? That would be great. We'd love to hear it from you all. So as far as the parent one, I think going to your parents and explaining what you know or steps you would take if something comes up could help to ease their fears. Great. It may help them to feel that the individual is responsible enough to problem solve if an uncomfortable situation arises. Yeah. So it's kind of showing that you're more grown up by having the conversation too. And then Michael said communication is key. And also understanding their side of it too, and they're doing it because they care about you, but maybe they're worried about something, and you can reassure them that you're old enough to protect yourself too. And then Kennedy wrote, my relationship has been so successful due to healthy communication and mutual trust. Yeah, important qualities of a healthy relationship. Being able to communicate, and that means speak up for what you want to say and what you're feeling and all of that, but also being able to listen to someone communicating too. Darlene said, married for nearly 39 years. I credit it to being open and honest, respecting one another, and a sense of humor. So some other great qualities you're talking about in a relationship. And dealing with various differences and in-laws potentially. So that, Justin, is that a difficulty that relationships are, or are you able to deal with in-laws and difficult situations?
Without getting specifics, that's just more of a general disposition. Because once you hit the dating stage, it's like the whole in-laws, like the cousins, the mothers, the brothers of the other side.
Yeah, so it just gets more complicated, and there's more relationships, and yeah, great. So yeah, know that it's not just the person, it might be their family that you're going to have to communicate with and be in relationship with as well. That's great. Any other successes? And then I'll read off the other question that was sent in ahead of time too. So I'll work on that. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I think also, when we talk about differences and inclusion, if the significant other is of a different ethnic group, a different race group, so understanding cultural differences, or even making a decision whether or not you're going to be open to someone who is different from you, that goes back to the communication is key piece as well.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. Whether it's an ethnicity or just different families, maybe strict families versus not so strict families. And now you're coming together and it's just different. You're raised differently. And yeah, so really respecting those differences. What was the app for people with disabilities? I'll show you a list of them. But also Garrett said communication, setting and respecting boundaries is key. Yes, so all of these are signs of a healthy relationship. Let me just quickly pull up the list of apps because I don't think I included them in the handouts, but let me just quickly look. I did not. So I'll pull those up and I'll show you the list, and I can put them in the chat too. So the list that I have, I'm just going to pull it up. 1 second, let me find it. Okay.
And while you're doing that, I'm wondering, Christine, were there any questions that came through the chat that we want to have Catherine also hear before our time runs out?
There were not, Dr. Penny, just what was the app for people with disabilities.
Okay.
But I would invite Gabe after we go through the apps, if he has another question, to unmute and have him ask his question.
Yeah, so these are the ones for people with disabilities, and I will put them in the chat for all of you. And I think the links will probably work too. These have links connected to them. Oops. So some are apps, some are websites. I think somebody mentioned earlier, some of them you have to pay for, some you don't. So those are ones for disability. And then as far as apps for people that aren't specific to disability, it really depends on what you're looking for too. So you can go to an app store and put in, monogamous dating app or whatever, like you're looking for a long-term relationship and they'll show you all the apps. Maybe you're interested in an LGBTQ relationship. So there's different apps for that. So lots of different options, but that would be for everyone, not just disability. The ones I put in the chat are for people with disabilities specifically. The other question that I had gotten before is, what tips can you share to help people with disabilities in learning about sexuality and healthy relationships? And I provided some handouts for everyone too that might be really helpful. But there's all the slides from the presentation. There's a list of resources for self-advocates, so for people with disabilities. So lots of webinars, videos, websites that might help you learn about sexuality. And then the other is for parents, because I know some of you are parents, and it's resources for parents. And I just want to show you parents, or because you were talking about tips. There's this great website from Virginia. I don't know if you know, it's the Disability Inclusive Sexual Health Network. And if you go to this, if you click on the link on the resource, you'll see all of these great resources. And you can even go all the way down and learn about, okay, I want to teach my child about safety and healthy boundaries. And you click on that, and it's in English or Spanish, and you click on it, and you can download these, tips for talking. Yeah. So, Penny, are the handouts going to be sent to people, or?
We will send it to all participants on tomorrow following this session. So you'll get as an attachment tomorrow.
Great. So Cynthia, they'll be emailed out tomorrow. So you don't have them yet, but you will have them all. But these will be really helpful in supporting either your own children or somebody with a disability, and you want to kind of look at things. There's lots of great resources too. And let me just go back, see if there's any. Oh, I also included a pamphlet on what is sexual self-advocacy, and it was created by self-advocates in Vermont too. And then the slides, this was one slide per page if you want to look at the slides. And one of the things that we didn't get to, and I'm thinking my time is almost up, right?
We have no questions. So if you want to take another 3 minutes, give or take.
Okay, great. So all the handouts are here, but on the slide deck, I'm just going to use this one. If you scroll down to the bottom, we didn't do these role plays, but if you wanted to, there's some role plays on here, and you could practice these with someone. So you're friends with somebody, one of you wants to become more than friends. One person's going to call the other person up on the phone and see if they want to be more than friends. And the first role play, they don't want to be more than friends. And then you can watch a video on how do you deal with rejection when someone says no to you. So that's a role play you could do. You could also, then you can do a role play where they say, yes, I want to be more than friends. And then you could talk about what you might do next. So those are a couple little activities you could do if you wanted to practice asking someone to be more than friends or asking someone out as well. Any other questions for me?
Yes, we have a question from Gabe.
Great.
Can you see me?
Yes. Go ahead. Yeah, Gabe.
Can you see me?
I can't see you.
Yeah, we can see you. I can see you.
Okay.
You have on a red shirt with your hand on your chin.
Let me see if I can.
Yeah, they can't see me.
Yeah, I see you now, Gabe. I had to scroll along.
Okay, can you see me?
I can, and I can hear you too. So, yeah.
Okay.
Do you have a
I have
question?
a question, yes. I just wanted to clarify, I'm actually 43, so I'm not a little bit older than just 40, but yeah, I'm in my 40s. And the question I want to ask you is, I don't really want to do a dating site because they're kind of, I don't think they're actually, sometimes you get like the wrong person when you try to on there sometimes, and you get like not the right person. I want to meet somebody in person. And it's just how, I go to church and stuff, so I meet people there, but it's just like, I don't know where's a good place really to meet people that are interested. I like to build Legos. Like I have a Lego club I do with adults over that direction there in my area here and everything, but it's just finding the right group of people that's in my age range is hard.
Yeah, I bet. Are there any singles events or anything like that to meet people that way?
Not really the middle of like one, I think it's on Sunday, but since there's no bus system that goes there, I don't drive, so trying to find a way to get there. I don't know anything that goes on during the week or anything. That's the problem.
Yeah. Do you ever go to like self-advocacy conferences? Does Virginia have a big conference for people with disabilities? Yep, I see Penny nodding her head. Do you ever go to those? Because that's a great way to meet people, either friends or partners.
I don't drive, so how do I get there?
Gabe, are you a graduate of our Partners in Policymaking by any chance? Are you a graduate?
No, I'm not. I don't think so.
Okay.
Am I?
Okay.
I don't know. I'm confused.
Yeah, we're gonna check your name in our database, but we're certainly going to send you an invite the next time we do our Partners in Policymaking training class through Virginia Board. It would be probably a wonderful experience for you to attend and meet others. And so we will check to see if you've already graduated, but probably not. And we'll have another one coming up in late 2025 that will run to 2026. And I was going to ask you, what region do you live in? You're in Southwest, you're in Northern Virginia. Where do you live?
I'm in East,
East.
I'm what was it?
We're going to reach out to you, Christine.
I'm in Harrisonburg, Virginia, so wherever that is.
Okay. All right.
I know where Harrisonburg is. He lives out in the northwestern part of the state.
Northwestern. Okay. All
and
right.
Gabe, don't go to bars to meet people because there's lots of questionable stuff that happens there.
So listen, you guys, we need a part 2, right? Of this, because our time is run out, and I need to turn it over very quickly to Nia Harrison, because we have another survey that we need you to complete. So Nia, I'm going to yield to you, and then we'll come back and say our thank yous to Catherine. And Christine, if you could just get ready to pull up just that last slide, it'd be great.
All right. Yes. Hi, everyone. Thanks for staying on to the end in their Wednesday evening. I'm just going to launch this second and final poll for those of you who were here at the beginning. For the first poll, the same stuff applies here. Everything is anonymous. It's not linked to your name when you signed in today. It's not linked to your registration information. These are just some questions to ask you about the content from today's session. And, we hope you enjoyed this session. If you did, we'd love to hear that. And if you didn't, or if there were other things that you would like in the future, please feel free to let us know that as well. Whatever is on your mind is helpful to us for planning future events. And also, as I said at the beginning of this session, if you need an alternative format for any reason in order to provide your feedback, please feel free to just note that in the chat box and we will follow up with you, or you can send me an email and I will put my email address in the chat box so that you have that to reach out to me, because I know that e-readers aren't always great with these Zoom polls and some of you might need more time to complete them, or you might just prefer a different format. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything. Thank you for your feedback. I'm going to keep the poll up another minute or two in case people need more time, because we still have responses coming in. But feel free, Penny, if you want to share anything while we're letting folks submit that, feel free.
Okay, let's keep it up, Nia, because we had 33 people and it looks like only 9 have completed it. So we'll just keep it up as we get ready to go. Let us thank and throw up hearts and claps and applause to our presenter, Catherine McLaughlin. She has done a phenomenal job. We always think that 2 hours is a long time until we get into the session, and it's just so good. Wish that we had more time. We have brought up on the screen, for those who are not still completing the feedback, if you want to take a picture of this flyer, we want you to see our upcoming continuing education statewide sessions that are already calendared through April of next year. We will be sending our registrants. So you registered for this. We are going to make sure that we send you our marketing materials and our flyer that will give you the name of the workshop and who the presenters will be once we have completely confirmed them. But in the meantime, we thought tonight it would be important for you to save the date. So if you want to take a picture of this screen, the next workshop is scheduled for September 27th. It is a Friday and it's from 12 noon to 2 p.m. It's on telehealth. And then we have another workshop for October 23rd, 2024. That will be again on a Wednesday. So we are moving between Friday afternoons from 12 to 2 and then Wednesdays from 6 to 8. These are workshop topics and titles and presenters that have been recommended from our training alumni. If you are a training alumni on the call tonight in the Zoom room, why don't you throw up a heart, a hand, say, hey, what's up, so that they can see who our alumni are. They do tremendous work, come together in a retreat, and we come up with these topics that are very provocative, very exciting, very informational, very educational. So I want to celebrate the training alumni. They are graduates of either one of our 2 training programs, Partners in Policy Making or the Youth Leadership Forum, now known as the Youth Leadership Academy. We have another workshop on November the 15th, which is a Friday from 12 to 2. The times are always the same. Fridays from 12 noon to 2, Wednesdays from 6 to 8 p.m. And then we'll take a break, go home for Christmas, relax, and come back. And our first session will be February 21st, one on March 19th, and one on April 11th. Will we be receiving a training certificate? No, we will not be we will not be offering a certificate for these trainings. It's a great question. We do provide a certificate of completion if you go through our Partners in Policymaking training program, which is a 7-month, 1 weekend per month training program. And that is held at a host hotel somewhere in the state of Virginia. Or if you have a youth that is in high school, entering the 10th grade through the 12th grade, we have the Youth Leadership Academy, and that is held on a university campus. We will be having Youth Leadership Academy this summer in July, and the logistics are underway to solidify the week in July where that will be held, and we're solidifying the university as well. It is 8:00 on the nose. I'm wondering if those who have not completed it, who are still here on the line with us, would you like us to send it to you as a backup, Nia, or how would you like to handle that? Because it seems like they may need a little more time. We could still stay on if we needed to.
Yeah, I think we can just leave it up now if people want to stay a few more minutes to finish it, but I haven't really seen any responses come in for a while. And I think, not everyone always fills it out or wants to answer the question. So we've gotten a good response, but we would appreciate for those of you who haven't filled it out, if you do have feedback, please feel free to share it here or reach out afterwards if you think of anything to any of us. You have my email address. Or you can go to our agency webpage, Virginia Board for People with Disabilities, and find the staff listing if you wanted to contact any of us.
Okay. Thank you, Nia. Having said that, at 8:01, we want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. The future workshops are all on different topics. And so again, we will send you the marketing materials. Want to thank our interpreters, our captioner, our technology guru. Want to thank Nia, our director, planning, research, and evaluations. I want to thank my teammate, Christine Jeremiah, for the outstanding work that she does to help make this successful. And that'll do it. Thank you, alumni, training alumni. We'll see you on September the 27th.